Okay, in lesson 16, we're going to be working on multi-step word problems, but we're going to use tape diagrams, and we're really going to focus on just letting the diagram solve the problem for us. Now, question 1 was already done for us, so we're going to start with number 2. Number 2 says, Riverside Elementary School is holding a school-wide election to choose a school color. 5/8 of the votes were blue, 5/9 of the remaining votes were green, and the remaining 48 votes were red. How many votes were for blue? So let's start by drawing ourselves a tape diagram. And if we come back to the top of it, it said 5/8 of the votes were blue. So I'm going to go ahead and split this into eighths. And there's half, quarters, and now I'm splitting them into eighths. It said 5/8, so I'm looking at 5/8 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these were for blue. Now it says 5/9 of the remaining votes. Well, if you notice, the remaining votes, which are here, were in thirds. It says 5/9. So if I split these into ninths, if I split each one of this into thirds, and I'm going to do dots actually, we can see it better. Now here's the remaining split up into ninths. It said 5/9. So I know that right to here would be 5/9. So we're saying that this part right here are green. And it says the remaining 40 votes were red. So it's talking about right here. These were red. And they equal 48 votes. Now if we can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So 48 divided by 4, which is 12, which tells us each one of these is 12. Now that gives us a lot of information, because now I can go through and say each one of these is 12. And come back up to here, if I wanted to split all these into 12 also, into thirds I could put 12 in each. "12 here, 12 here, 12 here, 12 here, 12 here, 12 here." And this is going to help me solve a lot of the other problems. 12, 12, and 12 in the last third. We have 12, 12, and 12. Okay? So right now, we can see, because it's asking us how many votes are blue. Well, if you look at this third, since all of them are 12, that's going to be 36. And this is 36. And this is 36. And this one's 36. And this one's 36. So we have 36 times 5. And 5 times 6 is 30. Carry the 3 to 15, be 180. So we have 180 blue votes. Okay, now let's take a look at B. And hopefully with our tape diagram we'll be able to solve all these various questions. The next one says, how many votes were green? Well, if we look right here, green was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/9. And so we know 5, and each one of them was at 12. And we know 5 times 12 is equal to 60. So there had been 60 green votes. So now we know that there were 60 green. I'm going to write it down here. and 180 blue. And I'll put 60 up here also so I know it. Now, it says if every student got 1 vote, but there were 25 students absent on the day of the vote, how many students are there at Riverside Elementary School? Well, we can see here that the blue was 180 votes. If you look at the diagram, the next green were 60 votes, and the remaining, which was red, were 48. So if we add these 3 up, we can see we had 8, 10, 18, 288 votes total cast. But now it says there were 25 students absent on that day. So if I add the 25 students, 8 and 5 is 13, carry 1, 8 and 2 is 10, 1 is 11, carry 1, we end up with 313 students total at the school. Okay, the last question is how many girls voted for blue? And we actually solved it in the last slide. It comes being 126. And I believe that was what it was, 126. So why don't we solve this in a different way to check our work, okay? Well, we know that if we look at how many blue, there was 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So there were 7/10 of the girls voted for blue. And we know 7/10 of 180. So let's try, that means 7 times 180 over 10. And I know 10 would go into 10 one time, 10 would go into 118 times. That leaves us with 18 times 7. And let's try that. 18 times 7. 8 times 7 is 56. And 7 times 1 is 7 plus 5 is 126. So we just checked it and verified it. So we know there were 126 girls that voted blue. But if you notice, we solved this question before just by